Good day. Just taking some leaves from our Indian perennial kale. It's a Taunton Deane that has travelled the world. We think it went to the Punjab in the 1940s and then came back in the late 60s or 70s as a cutting. And I got a cutting from a neighbour of mine many years ago. But yeah, this one is doing really well. You may remember this was actually on a plot over here. I gave a cutting to my plot neighbour and hers grew on and did really well. And then I lost mine. Not quite sure what happened, but it, I don't know. I think it just died. And I was on my neighbour's plot one day with her and she was just thinning it and took a big cutting off it, a branch. And I just stuck the branch in. Not sure if you can see down here. That's here, I'm not sure you can see, but this is where I stuck it in, and all of this has grown off that one branch. It's doing really well. Fantastic. Let's I don't think you could see that root. Let me see if I can get a better shot of it. Yes, so this was a branch, sort of maybe as big as one of these small ones, and I just shoved it in the ground. That was, I think, 2 years ago, and this has grown so well, and there's so many new shoots on here. Not sure if you can see that there and there. That could be taken off as cuttings, and I think another day I might do that. People always want this plant as a cutting. It doesn't set seeds, it doesn't flower, and it doesn't set seeds. So the only way to propagate it is via cuttings. And just talking about cuttings, these two honeyberries, pretty established honeyberries, were at the sharing table the other day. And there's so much growth on them, I thought they'd be really good for doing cuttings. So I took them from the sharing table. I was going to put them into our 30-litre black buckets, but I decided for time more than anything at that moment that I'd heel them in here, which I have done. And I mean, they are overgrown. You can see how overgrown they both are. Pretty big, but I think they will make pretty decent cuttings, whilst also at the same time being given a really good prune. I mean, it's alive and well. You can see, maybe you can't, you can see there are some leaves on this one and there aren't on that one at the moment, but we don't really expect that. You can see a bit of, gosh, that's actually a flower there. Not sure if you can see that, but there's a flower there. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to be taking cuttings of maybe later in the week or maybe next week. It really has gone pretty chilly. It really has. The sun has gone down. It's not even, well, I guess it's about 3:30, 3:45 now. I've just harvested beetroot and turnips for supper and some of the Taunton Deane Perennial Kale. And in the coming days, we're set to go down to 0. And I think what I'm going to do is put hoops on these broad beans. Yeah. At least I think I need to fleece them anyway. I mean, they don't mind the cold, but a cold, bitter wind, as I said last week, will really get them. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, you can see they're being buffeted and they're they're standing up pretty well and they seem to be doing okay. But I just really want them to firm up and last through the winter. They are quite a bit bigger than I would like at this time of year. It's odd to say that something is bigger than you would like, but if these were sort of half the size or 3/4 of the size, I'd be really quite content. But in any case, I'm very happy with them and I do want to keep them, so I will be netting them. And in fact, I'm thinking about this as I speak, and I think I will just net these and not the chard on the other side, which I was thinking of doing, because if I net just these with the blue hoops, hopefully I'll be able to get a taller hoop on them. Let me just put 2 hoops in place and you'll be able to see what I mean, I hope. That's 2 hoops in place. One, as you can see, stretches right across the whole bed, and the other one is really just stretching across the broad beans. And what I was thinking is, if we look at the profile here, let's get there, you can see that the second hoop is much more vertical here, where the closer hoop is getting relatively close to the broad bean plants. And yeah, I'm just wondering whether it would be preferable to have the sort of more vertical profile to clear the broad beans for the winter. I sort of think that makes sense. Yeah, it's difficult to see from here. They both look the same height, but the second one is a little bit taller. It's not really the height that I'm worried about, it's the proximity of the edge of the netting to the broad beans. I think this second way is going to be the way that I'm going to do it. Yeah, I mean, there's not much in it really, because the netting will be on the outside, obviously, of these blue pipes. But yeah, I think that second one would be preferable. Yeah. It's about 4:45 maybe. I did leave here when the sun was well up. Just gone 3 o'clock I left at home. Did take me half an hour to get down here. I bumped into a fellow neighbour who sadly is saying goodbye to her dog today, which is really sad. Somebody that we've known around here for ages. I mean the dog as well as the owner. So that was sad. We had a chat about the loss of furry loved ones and all of that, and yeah, and then bumped into another neighbour having another chat about something, and then when I got to the gate there was other people there, so it's been a bit of a chatty afternoon so far. Not sure if you can hear the gulls chatting up there, and the parakeets, of course, they're all around. I just came down really to look at the broad beans, see how they were doing, and do some harvesting. That's all I came down to do. But as often happens when we come down, you get on and do something else. So I was just here looking at the just getting something at the back here, and I saw the blue pipes, and I thought, oh, I wonder whether a sort of narrower hoop might be better for the broad beans. So I've put that there, so I'll mull that over the next couple of days. So I do think that the taller one is most probably the way that I'm going to go. I will be netting them on most probably Wednesday, I think, something like that, because we're supposed to get down to freezing overnight Wednesday, Thursday and Thursday, Friday, because we are much colder now than we were on Saturday, when we were sort of 16 degrees, something like that. And even though I'm not too worried about them getting frostbite from the cold weather, I am a bit worried that if we have frost and cold and chilling winds coming across, that they may succumb to that. So I think by netting them, even though it's not a fleece net, hoping that by netting them, any wind damage, now that they have strengthened up quite a bit, any wind damage that may come across that they could get will be greatly reduced by having the scaff net over them, because that will dissipate the wind as it comes towards them. And I think they've strengthened up really well in the last sort of 10 days since they've been in. So I'm happy with the way that they're looking and the way they're standing on their own, and they're standing upright and bold. So that's good. So now I just need to think about the cold snaps that we are about to start getting. And yeah, even though I don't have a fleece that will cover the whole thing, putting scaff netting over will create a little ecosystem in there maybe, but more importantly will stop the wind, any wind chill getting at them, should there be any significant wind chill. I mean, obviously if there's a light breeze, it can bring the temperature down a little bit, but if it's a really strong breeze, or a decent wind, that can really bring the wind chill right down and could harm them. So yeah, netting to be done in a day or so's time. In the meantime, I'm just going to take my leaves off the beetroot and the turnips, pop them into the compost bin. They will go to feed our soil next spring, and the beetroot themselves and the turnips will go to feed us this evening. And we'll have the lovely Taunton Deane Indian Perennial Kale as well. I rather love that story, that it was taken over, maybe 100 years ago to the Punjab, and then came back 50 or so years later, and we've got a descendant of it here. That's rather lovely. Right, I'm going to go. Not going to waffle. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock, and I didn't expect snow. It's been pretty wet, so it's not settling. It's settling on neighbours' plastic grass, but it's not settling on nature. And rooftops at the moment, it's about 4 degrees. We're going to get pretty cold this evening, down to 0, maybe even -1. And I just wasn't able to get down yesterday because I was at Vanessa all day yesterday. I wasn't able to get down and net our broad beans, so I'm really crossing my fingers that they're okay. We shall find out a little bit later. Good day again. Well, despite the snow and the wind, these are still largely sort of standing up, and we can see that we have had frost and ice because it's taken several of the plants, not the broad beans, but our plants out, and the cosmos is all done for as well. So I will be taking out the cosmos most probably at the weekend. Sorry, I haven't got any gloves on. I'm stupidly not got gloves on. So yeah, we have had ice down here. It has affected the plants we thought it would, and basically the wind is pretty brisk and pretty chilly, and these are going to start getting wind chill. So I'm going to do what I said I was going to do the other day. I'm going to hoop these with the taller hoops and then cover them in scaff netting. So I'm just going to get on and do that. Admittedly, this might not be the sexiest thing that I've ever seen, but I am just hoping that it will take the edge off the Windchill. It's this scaff netting is relatively fine, but I have found over the years that it has just reduced wind flow enough to stop these being completely dried out by a wind or frozen. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. I don't have any I don't have a tunnel that is actually big enough to cover all of these, a fleece tunnel big enough to cover all of these. Maybe that's something I could invest in the future. And of course the other thing that I could do is throw another piece of scaff net over these, because that will reduce it even more. But yeah, I'm hoping this is going to do for the time being. We're going to get down to about -1 overnight, which means possibly about -2 here. So we shall wait and see. We shall wait and see. Just tilting you up so that you can have a look at that sky. It's rather gorgeous. It really is. The sun is just about to go below the bank of trees, and yeah, but look, it's lighting up all of those clouds, making them fabulous, really fabulous. And over to the right, you can see it's the sky that's coming across there. The clouds are oh yeah, I suppose actually they go into shadow, don't they? So they get darker. Let me just spin you around a bit. Yeah, over there they're a bit it's a bit bluer, isn't it? Basically. I have to say the last thing that I expected this morning was a flurry of snow. It didn't stick because it had been raining and it was wet, but yeah, I just didn't expect it. And the temperature really has dropped. It's mostly about, I think it's about 4 or 5 degrees at the moment, but that wind is there, and it feels quite chilly because of that wind. So, and as you can see, I'm wrapped up. It's the first time down with an old fleece. Richard and I must have bought these fleeces. There's one brown and one green, which I both wear now, about 20 years ago. And they're still going. They're getting a bit like ripped there, you know, and things. So anyway, they're fine for down here. And they're also fine for anywhere because they keep me warm. So yeah, I don't really care what I look like. I just want to be as warm as possible. But yeah, those broad beans seem to have survived the frost of yesterday, which I think got the other plants. Seem to have survived the snow and the chill of this morning. And I'm just hoping that with that netting on, it'll reduce the wind chill and they will be okay for the winter. As I say, I could throw another bit of netting on top. And I've had another thought as well, so I might think about that for deeper in the winter, and we'll come on to that if I need to, because of course we're still in autumn. You know, it's November, so in the northern hemisphere we're still in autumn. We've got, I can't remember what day it is today. Really, I don't know. It's Thursday, 16th, 17th. 18th, 19th. No, it's not Thursday, it's Wednesday. So it's Wednesday the 19th of November. We've still got 10 or so days to go before we switch into winter. So meteorological winter is the beginning of December, the 1st of December, and astronomical is the winter solstice. So yeah, so we're right at the end of autumn, just about to tip over into winter. So here our colder months are usually January and February. That's when we tend to get quite a lot of wind, and quite a lot of wind from the north, because it's winds from the north that bring the cold in the UK. I mean, most of the northern hemisphere, if not all of it, that's where the cold comes from, the north. You know, if it comes from the equator, or from I can't speak today. Yes, if it comes from the direction of the equator, then of course it's generally warmer. So yeah, so the reason we've dipped into cold weather is because the pressure system has lowered, allowing cold air to come down from the north. So yeah, that's why. Anyway, I'm not going to waffle because clearly my brain can't cope with it today. It can't. Anyway, glad to have netted those broad beans. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's Thursday afternoon. I've just come down to do a bit more harvesting. And I keep on looking at this bed and thinking that there's something missing. Height-wise, it looks, I don't know, it looks as though something's missing. And I know I cut the marjoram down quite a few weeks ago, which gave it some height at the edge. And of course, we have lost the cosmos either side, which added some sort of structure and definition each side. But even given that, I don't know why it is. I just feel as though there's something not in here that should be in here. But I don't know. And I've just noticed, this is the thing, sometimes you look at your plot virtually every single day and suddenly you notice things. So I'm just noticing this for Bascom here. We've got one over here as well, behind there. And then I've looked down here we've got 3 verbascum coming up here, which I will leave. But yeah, you know, it's so funny. We look at our plots so regularly, and then suddenly we just notice something, and then we notice things that we think are wrong and aren't. But look, it has been cold. Even the chard down here, look. I know the chard is young, but some of it is wilted. Look, that's unusual. Here as well. So we got down to about -1 last night, and the broad beans, I mean, they're I think they're okay in there. My only sort of slight concern is they're so advanced. Will they start flowering? Which I don't want them to. I need to do some sewing up here. Look, there's a hole. Need to sew that up. I think there's one down here as well, which I will do in the coming days or week. And of course there's the cardoon, which is just shrugging off the cold completely. I mean, it's such a fleshy creature. You'd think it would just sort of succumb like you might expect the broad beans, but they have a sort of antifreeze in them that does them pretty well. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not doing much. It is cold. It's about 2 degrees at the moment, and that's in the sun, and it does feel cold. I have just gone into here and checked the lettuce that we have under here, and that's all fine with that fleece over it. That's all doing fine. And interestingly, the lettuce under this net here, that's all still fine despite how cold it was last night. Yet some of the lettuce up in the polytunnel has definitely said goodbye to life. Not sure if you can see in the above the polytunnel to the right, above the buddleia, there's a squirrel eating berries, hawthorn berries. It's up there. Rather, it's up there eating the hawthorn berries rather than taking our beetroot. Oh, and I have noticed our plot neighbour there with their broad beans that are in the middle. I've noticed 5 that were there yesterday have been nipped. So clearly the mice were out, or have been out maybe this morning, doing damage to broad beans. I think ours are so far along now that the seed below is just of no sustenance to mice anymore. Yeah, I think the only things that will get these is overgrowing or cold now, if we have really torrid winter conditions. But yeah, I just want all of these to go into a dormant stasis now, basically. I feel quite similar, actually. There are various jobs that I do want to do, but they're going to have to wait until next week. So this is the final segment of this week's A Week at the Plot. We're just going away for literally like 2 days, and this is going to be relocating to the south coast. So yes, we're heading southwards for a few days. By the time you see this, we'll be back at home. And I know there are some leeks that I've self-seeded on somebody else's plot that I have been offered, and I have said yes, I would like some, so I'm going to grab those early next week. And also we have an awful lot, if you remember, an awful lot of the young seedlings of these coming up, and I want to pot those on because it's such a fabulous flower. I always forget its name, Cicericium, something like that. Absolutely lovely. And I'll put them on for the gate sale, and I'll put them on for future life, I think, here as well at the plot. And if we do move next year, it's a plant that I would really like to take with me as well. At least, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 pots of them. So yeah, there we are. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Any comments, any questions, any suggestions, please do let me know. And wherever you are in the world, whatever you are doing, I just hope that your garden, your growing space and your allotment is giving you pleasure, even if it be a bit bitingly cold. And on that, yeah, my gloves are in the sheds, so I better go and put them on. See you very soon, and happy growing. Bye.